Good morning, big boy. Are you ready to do another view cue? You gonna help? Okay.
Happy Sunday, everybody, and welcome to another Sunday morning view cue. It's June 2nd. I apologize for my generator noise, and apparently the boy doesn't want to be in the video today. But I've had some challenges this week, which I'll tell you about later, with some power, so forgive the generator. But I'm not going to put an intro in today, so we can get right to all the great questions that you had in the last view cue. So a lot of you asked about the EvaDry humidifier that I recommended. That was the one where it can last for like a decade, and you just hang it up. It doesn't take any electricity, but once you see that the beads inside have turned from orange to green, then you plug it in for about 10 hours and it like redoes itself. It renews itself. And again, the link for that and everything else that I've ever talked about is down below, and the Amazon link that you'll see in the description and at the top of comments. But you guys know I have 4 of these things. And yes, when you plug it into a 110 outlet, it says do it in a well-ventilated area, because it's kind of cooking those little beads back to orange, but it can release some of the moisture back into the air. And that was a really great question. I had a few of you ask it. So this is what I do. I've only had to renew them a couple of times, but one time I had a hookup and I plugged it outside into the power tower that you have, you know, that you plug your electrical into at like an RV park or a campground with a hookup. Just plugged it in there overnight. Another time I have an outside outlet that I could plug it into, but I had to run my inverter for that. Oh, and then another time actually I was visiting Doug and I did one in one of his bathrooms with the fan going. So yeah, I probably wouldn't do it inside of an RV with the windows shut and no fan running. I think if I had my overhead fan, you know, running near the spot that it was fixing itself, then I would do that. But very good question, you guys. As usual, you guys always have the best questions. Okay, moving on to the next question. Ann Gibson says, I'm considering RVing full-time. However, I'm an avid and voracious reader. I read between 2 and 3 books a week, my people, which gets expensive if you buy them. Are you a reader? Yes, I am a reader. One of the reasons I wanted to hit the road full-time was so that I could spend more time outside reading. And I just saw this as a really funny shot. You guys know I love my maternity pillow just because I can wrap it around myself. But this is where the boy likes to lay, and it's really sunny today, and I have a little hummingbird feeder right here that he sits and looks at all day. So I just wanted to be next to him for this video in this beautiful area I'm in. I'm in a forest. Anyway, I digress. Yes, I am a reader. I have, of course, a little e-reader up here, and right now I am reading a book called Blindness, which is amazing. It won the Nobel Prize. I got this at the free stack at the RTR last year. So I grabbed a bunch of books there. Another thing I'll say is when you are on the road and you go to like laundromats, like half the laundromats I've gone to have a book swap. I picked up 3 just the other day when I was doing my laundry. Besides that, you can set up an account with your local library in your town, and I have gotten real books from my library and then sent them back in the mail. No big deal. The nice thing about that is you can renew them usually online over and over if you're traveling. Or what I used it more for was audiobooks, because you can download the library free app for free audiobooks. But sometimes there's a wait list. My favorite new thing, I have to tell you, is that I have Kindle Unlimited through Amazon, which, by the way, my books are on Kindle Unlimited. If you guys have that, you can read all of my books for free. But I have that because I'm such a reader. And recently I have discovered that about half the books that are on Kindle Unlimited that I've been wanting to read have free audio books attached to them from Audible. So you don't have to actually get an Audible account, which to me is not worth it. It's, you know, like 20, 22 bucks for 1 book a month. Not worth it to me. Plus I read or listen to more than that. So if you already have Kindle Unlimited, go through all the books that you want to read, and it'll tell you if there is an audio book attached to it. And, you know, I used to have a real problem going into bookstores. I would leave with, like, you know, a Hermione Granger stack of books. And I haven't done that. I don't think I've actually bought a book since I've been on the road. So, yeah, you don't worry about that. There's books everywhere. Okay, moving on to the next question. Sunny Rudder says, You're always giving out such great advice and info. Thank you. My daughter bought an old 27-foot trailer that she's living in, parked at an RV park, but I always encourage her to watch her videos for being smart in her new house. For example, she's just 10 minutes away from the Canadian border. Ooh, I have friends there. I hear it's cold. Until last night, when I asked about it, she had not thought about needing to prep her place for solid freezes so her pipes don't burst. Do you have any info on that? I have not done a video on this, although I'll tell you, I rode out my first winter, part of it, in a state park in Colorado where it was very cold. And tell your daughter that she can get something called a skirt, which can be expensive, that, you know, kind of tacks on to the outside of your rig, and it's meant to keep the air out from underneath the rig. But if you don't want to do it the expensive way, if she is just sitting there for a long period of time, I've interviewed several people who get those big solid insulated panels from Home Depot. They're pretty easy to snap or cut, but most people just line them up along the side of their RV and duct tape them, and it keeps some of the cold air from going underneath your rig. I did something similar, but I wanted something more mobile. So when I was at that state park, what I did is I got a big giant roll of Reflectix from Amazon, and I just unrolled the whole roll around the back outside of my RV, and then I put the doors of the bins, my outside storage bins, on top of it to hold it because it's really windy there. And then in some places I kind of shorted up with some duct tape. Actually, I take it back. I used painter's tape so I didn't wreck the paint on my RV. And then I got a moving box, a small moving box, and I folded it in half, and I wedged that behind my front wheels because that was another place air was getting in and out. And because I had a hookup there, I got a little space heater that went 360 degrees. I put that underneath, I plugged it into the power tower, and then I had a thermometer that I could read from inside. And I'll tell you that it was 9 degrees outside, and it was about 63 degrees in the area underneath my rig, just because of Reflectix and a space heater. So I hope that helps. Oh, hey boy. I had a neighbor that I met there. It was Carolyn, who does Route 66 at 66. I don't know if you guys saw that video. Hey Carolyn, miss you, hope you're watching. Anyway, we met because she had a poopsicle hanging out of her rig, and I saw her outside. And if you guys have never seen a poopsicle, it's when somebody has their black tank and it freezes over so much that a big brown icicle starts to come out of their plumbing. So that's never any fun. So yeah, I hope that helps. And yeah, if I was in a place where I was doing that again, I would definitely shoot a video on it. I think I have a blog post on it if you go back a year at creativityrv.com. Patricia says, did you have the dealer install the solar panels on your new RV? I did, and I had 2 Water Lakes La Mesa RV in Phoenix. They installed the solar up on my roof, and they put the screw holes in, and they didn't seal them right, so I had 2 leaks. But to their credit, I had a mobile guy come and fix it. Their mobile guy first, who didn't fix it, and then I hired my own mobile guy, and they reimbursed me for it. Love mobile guys. Oh, this is a good one, you guys. Okay, Karen, that's her name on YouTube, said, I see on the Harvest Host webpage that minivans are prohibited. I'm sad. Okay, Karen, I did a video on Harvest Host, and there's also an FAQ. I responded to your question here with Joel, the owner of Harvest Host. Minivans are not prohibited. I think that this is a misunderstanding from their website. So if you go to their website right now, what it says is what type of vehicles are allowed. I'm looking at it from the Harvest Host website. You can see this too. It says all classes of RVs are allowed, A, B, and C, including motor coaches, fifth wheel campers, travel trailers, toy haulers, camper vans, truck campers, and schoolies. Towed vehicles are also acceptable. But here's the thing. All vehicles must be fully self-contained. And then it says your RV must have an interior toilet, holding tanks, porta potties are acceptable. Here's the deal. If you watch the video with me and Joel, minivans or camper vans, same diff, are totally fine as long as you have your own bathroom and kitchen facilities. That's it. They just don't want you to have to use the host's bathroom in the business. And I'll explain that to you guys who don't know about Harvest Host in a second. Or need food from their location, right? Because what happens is the business shuts down and you stay there overnight, and they don't want you dumping your stuff on the ground, right? They don't want to find pee bottles on the ground. They want to make sure that you have your own plumbing facilities. And so, look, Karen, I mean, I've known people on the road who use a coffee can, all kinds of things, a cassette toilet. I don't know what you have in your minivan, but as long as you have a place to use the restroom where you don't have to use the hosts, and even if it's a granola bar, as long as you are self-sustained and can get food overnight in your own rig, you are absolutely acceptable. So now let me tell you guys what Harvest Host is, if you are not familiar. Harvest Host is like a membership thing that I belong to. I would not be without it. It is in my arsenal of camping options, and I'll tell you what I'm going to use it for here in a minute. But I think it's $79 a year. But if you use the link below, I'll put it at the very top of comments, you can get 15% off by using the link below. And there's also a code that you have to put in, but it'll be down there. Then once you sign up, you get a huge list of host locations and their app where you can search on a map for host locations. And oh, here comes the boy. I know some of you have said, show more of the boy, which is part of the reason I was going to shoot this back here and then he left me. Harvest Host is known for having wineries as hosts. And I think it started out with a lot of wineries. But you guys, when you get your host locations, it is wineries and distilleries, but also goat farms and lavender farms and museums. I mean, there is the world's biggest miniature train museum close to my travels, and I'm actually thinking of going pretty far out of my way because I want to go see that museum. Old West museums, aviation museums, cultural heritage museums, French cheese places, covered wagon tours. I mean, and wineries. So what happens is you pay your $79. The hosts don't pay anything to be on the list. What they're hoping is that you come and visit their business. So of course, the rule of thumb is to go in and spend a little money in the business. So you're not paying for an RV park. Boondockers on a budget. I know a lot of you worry about this. To me, it's like if you're going to go to Walmart, you go in and you buy something at Walmart. And I was under the impression that, oh my gosh, if you go to wineries, you're going to have to buy a $200 bottle of wine. That is not true. My favorite one I've been to so far is the Holy Cross Abbey Winery in Canyon City, Colorado. They have a lovely tasting room, and it's tiny. It's not overwhelming. It's not intimidating. You go in, they pour you some wine, and the bottles of wine were about 20 bucks. And I found out I really liked it. But they also had a little shop there. You could get a greeting card, You could get a knife to cut some cheese. You could get a magnet there. And most of the host locations are like that. The first one that I went to was actually Cray Family Market Garden in Sun Valley, Idaho, who I love. Hey guys. That was the first one I ever went to. And they had these beautiful greenhouses. It was just an organic garden, and with these beautiful stallions outside of this gingerbread fairy tale house. And I said, okay, where's the store? Thinking I would go in and buy some produce. And they said, oh, we don't sell anything to people. We sell to local restaurants mostly, and then we have a basket delivery for locals. But they just wanted to share their business. They weren't even selling anything. So every host is going to be different. But even if you don't drink, go to the wineries or the distilleries or the breweries, because they always have other stuff you can get. And besides that, there's just amazing farms you can go to. So if you like berries or apples or whatever, they always have that, and they have little local pies or, whatever you want to buy. And here's what I really like about it. When you're traveling somewhere, you see that big, route up the interstate, or maybe you like to take the little side highways, and you're just driving from point to point, and maybe you'll stay at a rest area or a truck stop or something if you're going a long distance between your camping locations. This is a way to meet locals and see roads and experience things that you otherwise would not. And I love it, and I wouldn't be without it. And I'll tell you, they just added in golf courses and resort hotels into their list. I think you have to pay another little bit to get those on the list, but if that's your thing, great. But to me, I might do that because there's more of those around cities, and you know how hard it is to find camping in cities. So Karen, I hope that answered your question. I think your minivan is going to be fine. Okay, Stephanie Sue says, hey Robin, thanks for this video. My question is about solar. What appliances could you run on your solar, like a slow cooker, an Instapot, flat iron hairdryer? Well, right now, nothing, because my solar is not working. So I will tell you guys more about that later. So I have 480 watts of solar. I have a 1,000-watt inverter, 2 batteries, and I would have more if I could fit more. But for me, I could run my mini Instant Pot, no problem, without running the generator and without having a hookup. But I don't, because it really takes a lot of my power. If I'm in a really sunny area with my solar, like I'm in Arizona, then no big deal. I can use it and I have enough power when I get to the end of my day. But, you know, things like a blow dryer, somebody asked me about air conditioning, which I don't use that much. But those things, think about things that draw a lot of heat, like an air fryer or a pressure cooker. Those really take a lot of power out of your batteries, even if you have an inverter and a lot of solar. So you have to have a pretty big setup to run those things off of your... Wish you guys could see his little face. He's so cute. Anyway, you have to have a lot of solar and batteries and inverter to run those appliances. But, you know, you can run your generator, or if you're in a really sunny area, use those devices, but use them in the middle of the day so that they can refresh themselves before the sun goes down. Actually, I am getting to some monster questions about batteries, so stay tuned and I'll talk a little bit more about that. Jamie Barber said, how do you stay cool in the hot summer months? I actually did a whole video on this. You have to go back, you just hit videos and you go scroll down, go back about a year. It's there. If I can, I'll link it below. But I have a bunch of good stuff about that in there. And I think I talked a little bit about it in the last view queue too. D. Laffrey says, could you talk about the difference in how you write your books on the road? Do you find you're more creative when you're in nature? And do you have a routine structure for writing time? Okay, so I get this question a lot too, you guys. I actually started my blog, Creativity RV, because I wanted to tell other artists that they could pursue their craft if they lived in an RV, because you can live on so much less. Like I've said before, I was not an RV person. I was a writer. And I figured out I could live on $1,300 a month. So I didn't start Creativity RV as like the most creative ideas for the road. Yeah, the writing was a big thing to me. I thought that getting out in nature, I'd be so much more productive and have so much more time. Well, it's a double-edged sword, because I am more creative, especially driving long distances. I think of so much stuff, and you know, I can work and sleep on my own schedule. So a lot of times, especially lately, I get up at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and start taking notes or dictating things to myself. The nice thing about that is, you know, I don't have to worry about getting up late for a job. So in that way, it's really good. But I will tell you that the first 2 books that I wrote, I did, you know, still in an apartment while I was planning to hit the road. And I had a job in the afternoon that I worked from home. But I wrote every morning for 4 hours. Then I went to the gym, and then I worked my other job. And I was actually a little more productive on that set schedule. I don't have a set schedule on the road because of travel days. And it just does kind of mess up the schedule a little bit. So, you know, it's better. I'll tell you that. If you do it, it's better than being in a house. I have to move because my arm is falling asleep. Sorry, buddy. Don't move. Gotta love the maternity pillow, right? Okay, J. May says, you are entertaining, authentic, and inspiring. Thank you so much, you guys, for all the nice comments. Every time I watch you, I think I'm going to pull the trigger, sell my house, which I love, but hey, where it is in the California desert, ugh, and live a nomadic life. One of my drawbacks is that I have 2 small dogs and a bearded dragon. In my mind, it seems complicated to travel with him. Have you met fellow travelers with multiple pets and exotic pets as well? Yes, I'm going to pull something up. I'm actually traveling with a friend right now who has several birds, and I have met several people with birds who make bird cages out of their overhead bunks. I met somebody who traveled with a big snake. I met a lady with a giant pig she traveled with. But this is her bird chasing a fly just the other day at our campsite. Sometimes I'm like, wow, the birds out here are crazy in this forest, and then I realize it's my friend's birds. But yes, and I want to tell you that her Instagram is Donna's Gang Adventures. I'll link it below. Donna's Gang Adventures, I'm sorry, Donna's Gang RV Adventures. Sorry, Donna. She posts the best stuff on Instagram about her RV life, and she keeps it real. you know, like sometimes you walk out the door with some stripes and some plaid and some, you know, whatever on, and things can get cluttered. And she's got some videos of the birds, and she'll tell you about that. So I'll link that below. But here's what I've learned. You can do anything. Like I have a garden in here because that's what was important to me. And I know I'm out of the frame now, you guys, so I'm going to scoot back here. Sorry, boy. Whatever your hobby is, whatever your thing is, you can find a rig and a power source and a way to do that in an RV, almost. So yeah, I think your bearded dragon would be fine. Like I said, I know somebody who took their entire overhead bunk and created a cage for their birds. And then when they stop, they actually let their birds fly in the RV. They have a very big RV. Donna actually has a string that her birds can walk across the top of the string. And then those people with the overhead bunk have kind of a mosquito net that goes around the outside of their awning, and it creates one giant area. The birds fly out under their awning and can sit outside, and that works great. So yes, for your dragon, I think you would be able to set something up, no problem. You know, people worry about temperature. You know, a lot of RVs are temperature controlled. People worry about, like the boy, if I leave. Well, I don't leave the boy that much, but if I was going to go for a hike or something, I have the temperature set. So if it gets too hot, a fan comes on. If it gets too cool, the heat comes on. And, you know, everybody knows their pet and everybody's a little bit different. So, you know what you need for your dragon, and you can work that out in an RV. Don't worry about it. Now, I am going to jump to another question, which I don't have the person's name up, so I apologize. But it's in order. So somebody asked me about traveling with a pet and what I do for the vet. So I'll tell you that one consideration you should have, I think, when you hit the road is, you know, if you ever travel with a pet or you have to board a pet, that you have to have that certificate saying that the pet has had its shot and it's healthy. Well, shots, I should say, and it's healthy. I have that in the rig. I actually think it's about time for me to go to a vet and get that updated now that I think about it. So on the road, you do want to have those certificates, rabies certificates, and if they have a microchip, have the number written down. Because think about this, if you're in an accident and someone needs to take care of your pet, or you have to fly home, for example, because there's an emergency and you have to board your animal or something like that, you cannot do it without that certificate in a lot of places. So just, you know, a housekeeping thing that's good to have around. Now, because I have that, I have all my vet records, and so I have been able to take those on the road for the boy. And, you know, one time he had a very weird night one night, and I was worried about him. It wasn't like anything specific happened. He just seemed off. You know what I mean? And I looked up emergency vets in my area, and then after that, you know, if I'm going to be boondocking in a remote area, just, you know, while I'm doing my research of camping spots, I have at times made sure that I am within driving distance of an emergency vet, just in case. You know, he's 12, so looking out. Okay, this is the good one that I wanted to talk to you guys about today. I had a couple of questions from people about battery power, and I'm going to read one, but then know that it applies to a couple of other people out there that asked a similar question. So, Shelby Mustang, great name, said, Creativity RV, help please. I'm renting a Class C 32 feet RV, leaving Tuesday, so she's on the road right now, you guys, for 12 days and cannot get a handle on power. I just discovered you and I'm desperately trying to binge your videos in a short time. Any information you can offer would be appreciated. I'm confused regarding when to use the generator, like I am right now. I'm driving a total of 2,000 miles, so my question is, when driving, does the engine make enough power to run the refrigerator, the stove, and the toilet? And when I'm parked for less than an hour, should I turn the generator on? At the various campsites, I've been assured by the company that my shore power will power everything. Assuming that's correct, that part makes sense to me. A 101 in electric would make me a subby for life. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Okay, so look, I had another question from somebody else about this, and she wanted to know if her refrigerator would run when her car was on. So this is what I want to make sure. This is kind of 101. Please, CRV community, put in the comments below what advice you have for these people. But here's what I want you to know that I did not know before I started researching my RV life, and then I'll go up to more specific stuff. Of course, you have an engine battery, which, you know, is a starter battery. And then back inside the RV, usually if it's an RV, not like a camper van, everybody has a different setup. You have house batteries. Usually they're under the step. Like I've got 2 batteries underneath the step up into my RV. Those are different kinds of batteries. But the house batteries, not the engine battery, is what runs everything in your RV normally, like your lights, maybe your refrigerator, although most refrigerators now are 3-way refrigerators, so they can run off propane. So if you're worried about your refrigerator, set it to run off propane if you can, instead of electric, because that will totally suck the power out of your batteries if you don't have a hookup. Okay, there are 4 different ways to charge your house batteries. Okay, so while you're driving, that starter battery, when you start your engine, will give your house batteries a charge. But if you're like me, you'll say to yourself, I drove 2 hours and my house batteries don't have a good charge. And I'll tell you how to tell in a second. Here's what you need to know, and I do have a section on this in the book, which is linked below. But the starter battery in your engine gives a burst of power, and if it's connected properly to your house batteries, that will give your house batteries a good sudden charge. But then when you drive for a while, it almost trickle charges it like a solar panel does, because it's not giving you a sustained amount of power. It's not built the same way as a house battery. So if you drive all day, it should give you a good charge. But if you're like me and you drove a couple of hours and you're like, why are my batteries, not fully charged? That is why. So that's one way to charge your house batteries. Another way is running your generator. A third way is to be hooked up to shore power, like in an RV park where you plug in. And the fourth way is solar. But of course, solar trickle charges your batteries, which means that it's not giving you a really hearty charge suddenly. It gives you a little bit all day long, except for, I will tell you this, a lot of different types of solar controllers have something called a max boost. Read your own manual, but if you've got that, when the sun is going down, you can hit that button and for 30 minutes it'll suck up as much power as it can. Now, if you have an RV that does not have solar and a solar controller, you may not have a panel that tells you what the reading is on your batteries, like 12.5, 13.1, 14, which is great, 15, right, which is super great. Then you know your batteries have a really good charge. A lot of RVs have like 4 little dots, which doesn't really tell you anything, like 4 dots is fully charged. But for the gal that's renting an RV or somebody else that's new, I wouldn't get below halfway charged, because that can wreck the batteries. But another thing that you can do, my friend Donna with Donna's RV Gang gave me this morning. She got a 12-volt LCD battery monitor. It looks like this. I'll put a link on Amazon to this in case somebody needs it, so you can see what I'm talking about. She put this into a 12-volt receptacle in her RV, not in the cab, and it gives her a reading like green, orange, yellow. So whenever she sees it turn to orange, she knows she needs to start her generator. Another good thing to know is that you have to run your generator a lot. If you don't have shore power and you don't have solar, most people that I've talked to have to run their generator a couple hours in the morning, maybe an hour at night, 2 hours at night, depending on what kind of stuff they're doing inside their rig. So if you're running your generator and you're using your Instant Pot, right, it's not going to be charging your house batteries as much as it would have had you not used the Instant Pot. So everybody's going to be different. But a lot of people are surprised that they run their generator an hour a day without solar and without a hookup, and it is not giving them a nice full charge. If you turn the generator on, you're going to see that the reading, if you have one, on your battery goes way up, like it might say you have 14. It's like if you start your car engine, it'll go way up and say that the charge is great. But as soon as you turn the generator off or the engine off, it'll go back down. It is not a true reading, like I was saying a couple of weeks ago. Appliances can be run off the shore power if it's good power. You don't have to worry about that. When you're driving, you should not have to turn on the generator when you are parked for an hour. Your house battery should be charged because you've been driving, at least enough to get you through an hour. Make sure that your refrigerator is not coming off those batteries. If you have a choice, that will help. I hope that helps you guys. Battery power is a tough thing to understand, and I get a lot of questions on it, so I hope that helps. Okay, and finally, Margaret McCullough says, Dearest Robin, I have just spent the last 2 days binge watching all your videos, and I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed them. Thank you so much. I'm sorry if this is an obvious question for everyone else, but the truth is I don't know how to help you make money for your channel because I don't understand how YouTube works. I'm hoping that you can explain the best way to help me support you because I really want to do that. You're worth it. P.S. I subscribe to your blog. Thank you so much, Margaret. I do get this question once in a while, so I am going to answer it. So, for those of you that want to start a YouTube channel, here's how YouTube works. You need 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of video watched in order to become monetized. And I thought I would never get there, but I did, and you can too if you want to do a YouTube channel. And then what you do is you apply to YouTube to be monetized. If they approve you, then what that means is ads start showing up, not all the time, but sometimes in front of the videos. So the way that YouTubers get paid, like me, is not by how many subscribers you have, it's by how many people watch your videos and therefore get exposed to the ad in the front. Now, I think if you watch the full ad, or if you're interested in the product and you click on it, I think that you get a few cents more, basically. And there's an ad also at the end of my videos. So, if you have time, watch the full ad, watch the full video, give it a thumbs up, that helps, absolutely. Share it, that helps also, because then YouTube is more likely to promote the video. Watch the ad at the end if you have time to do that, and that does help. Otherwise, I don't do Patreon or PayPal like other people do. I just choose not to. But, like you did, subscribe to my blog just so you can see what's going on with me. And, if you like to read, buy my books or read them under Kindle Unlimited. And of course, if you need to do any Amazon shopping for anything, whether it's like the pillow that I have here or anything else, then go down to the link below. If you navigate into Amazon through that link, then I get a very small percentage on what you buy. It could be like 1 or 2%. So everything together adds up. So thank you so much for asking. I do appreciate that. And I appreciate that question. And I appreciate you guys watching. And if you guys have any questions for me in 2 weeks for the next VOQ, please do put them in the comments below, because that's where I get the questions for the next one. If you have any advice for anyone that puts a question below, or anything I've said today, please do also put it in the comments below. Again, I hope you all are having happy travels out there, and be free.